Topic: Human reproduction, menstrual cycle, fertilization and development of zygote to blastocyst, implantation, gestation and the role of the placenta. Aims of lesson. At the end of this lesson you should be able to know the following: the menstrual cycle including the uterine and ovarian cycles. Hormonal control of the menstrual cycle, ovarian and uterine cycles, with reference to the action of FSH, estrogen, LH and progesterone. Negative feedback mechanism involving FSH and progesterone in controlling the production of ova. Fertilization and the development of the zygote to blastocyst. Implantation, gestation and the role of the placenta. Introduction. You have studied human reproduction in grade 9. Revise the section on meiosis that you have covered in term 1 in grade 12. Revise the previous lesson on male and female reproductive systems. Concepts and skills. Study the following definitions. Note that at least 2 marks are awarded if you can define a term correctly in the examination. Chorion, the membrane that, together with the endometrium, forms the placenta. Chorionic villi, the finger-like projections that develop from the outer extraembryonic membrane. Prolactin, a hormone that stimulates the mammary glands to produce milk. Gestation, the period of development of the fetus in the uterus. Luteinizing hormone, LH, a hormone that stimulates the development of the corpus luteum. Endometrium, the inner lining of the uterus where implantation of the embryo occurs. Menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle includes the uterine and ovarian cycles. Ovarian cycle. Describe the events in the ovarian cycle. Development of the Graafian follicle. Ovulation. Formation of the corpus luteum. Uterine cycle. Describe the events in the uterine cycle. Changes that take place in the thickness of the endometrium. Menstruation. Use your textbook and study the functions of the following parts of the male reproductive system. Testis. Epididymis. Vas deferens. Seminal vesicle. Prostate gland. Cooper's gland. Urethra. Describe the menstrual cycle, ovarian and uterine cycles, and how it is influenced by different hormones. The menstrual cycle is a series of events that occur in the female body to prepare it for possible pregnancy. The pituitary gland/hypophysis secretes FSH which stimulates the development of a primary follicle into a Graafian follicle in the ovary. The Graafian follicle secretes estrogen which stimulates the thickening of the lining of the uterus/endometrium. Around day 13 pituitary gland/hypophysis secretes LH which cause ovulation to occur. The remains of the Graafian follicle develop into the corpus luteum which secretes the hormone progesterone which continues to stimulate the thickening of the uterus. High levels of progesterone inhibit the production of FSH so that the ovaries are no longer stimulated to produce another follicle. Negative feedback mechanism. If fertilization does not occur, the corpus luteum degenerates and stops producing progesterone. The pituitary gland/hypophysis is no longer inhibited in its production of FSH and a new follicle develops. The thick endometrium is no longer maintained and it degenerates and is shed together with blood and menstruation takes place. If fertilization does occur, the corpus luteum continues to function until the 12th week of pregnancy. Describe the development of a zygote until implantation occurs. Zygote divides by mitosis to form a ball of cells, called the morula. The morula further divides to form a hollow ball of cells called the blastula. Common errors made by learners in examinations. Learners unable to label and provide the functions of different parts of the male and female reproductive systems. Learners cannot interpret diagrams of the menstrual cycle. Learners do not know the functions of the different hormones. Learners cannot describe the negative feedback mechanism involving FSH and progesterone in controlling the production of ova. Activities/assessment. Complete the activities/questions on the above-mentioned sections of human reproduction in your textbook. Work through the questions and activities on page 24-26 of your Mind the Gap study guide. Consolidation. Define all the terminology relevant to the topic/is covered in this lesson. Work through the questions on human reproduction in past examination papers. Values. By studying and learning about the human reproduction, you will develop a deep understanding of the male and female reproductive systems, puberty, pregnancy, and contraceptive devices. Answer the following questions. Question 1. The graph below shows the concentration of progesterone in a woman's blood during the early stages of pregnancy. 1.1 Name 2 structures responsible for producing progesterone during pregnancy. 1.2 Describe the general trend in the change in progesterone levels in the woman's blood during the early stages of pregnancy. 1.3 Describe the negative feedback mechanism that occurs between progesterone and FSH during pregnancy. 1.4 State the importance of the negative feedback mechanism described in question 1.3. 1.5 Calculate the percentage increase in progesterone levels between week 4 and week 14. Show all calculations. 1.6 The woman's progesterone level in week 16 was 25. In/M. A. Explain why this woman should be concerned about the decrease in progesterone levels. B. Suggest one way in which this problem could possibly be treated by a doctor. Question 2. Study the graph below of the levels of 2 ovarian hormones released during the menstrual cycle. 2.1 Identify hormones A and B. 2.2 What effect does an increase in hormone A have on the endometrium? 2.3 Ovulation is indicated on the graph. A. Define ovulation. B. On which day did ovulation take place? C. Which hormone secreted by the pituitary gland stimulates ovulation? 2.4 Explain why high levels of hormone B prevent the development of new follicles. 2.5 Explain evidence in the graph that indicates that no fertilization took place during the menstrual cycle shown above. Question 3. Research shows that the average age of first menstruation is influenced by socioeconomic status as well as race. Scientists carried out an investigation to determine the average age of the first menstruation of the girls in a community. Their hypothesis was the average age of first menstruation has decreased over time. 3.1 For the investigation, identify the A. Independent variable. B. Dependent variable. 3.2 Name 3 planning steps that had to be considered before carrying out the investigation. 3.3 If the results showed that the average age of first menstruation has remained at 9 years of age for the last 25 years, explain the implications for the hypothesis stated by the scientists. Question 4. The diagram below represents the relationship between the blood system of the fetus and that of the mother. The arrows indicate the direction of blood flow in the blood vessels. 4.1 Apart from playing a role in the diffusion of substances from the mother's blood to the fetus blood, and vice versa. State 2 other functions of the placenta. 4.2 Blood vessel D is an artery. Tabulate 2 differences between the composition of blood found in blood vessel C and blood found in blood vessel D. 4.3 Explain one consequence for the fetus if blood vessel D becomes blocked, preventing blood flow. 4.4 If the blood of the mother and the blood of the fetus come into contact with each another, it could lead to the death of the fetus. Describe why this would occur. Question 5. The diagram below represents a developing fetus in a human body. 1.1 Identify parts A and C. 1.2 State 2 functions of the fluid in part B. 1.3 Name one system in the baby's body that takes over the function of part D once the baby is born. 1.4 Explain one negative impact on fetal development if part D is reduced significantly.